Hiya Hinsters, I hope you are keeping safe and well. Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. Happy Thursday Learn Day and new moon in Aquarius. Let me know in the comments how you are right now. How are you feeling? What are you reacting and responding to right now? There's so many planets in Aquarius right now as I film. If you're interested in the new moon specifically, I did make a video on that just yesterday, and you might be able to notice that I'm looking like really crazy tired recently, so I'm gonna have a long nap after this. But I had to come and do this one because, in case you didn't know, about a week ago I did a kind of call out on my Instagram. If you're on Instagram, by the way, you can follow me at queerhinny. I love the Hinstas on Instagram. We always talk a lot about different ideas, and that's what I like to do. I like to kind of pool what the Hinstas want on my channel. Usually I'm really interested in the idea too, so I will make a video based upon these requests. So this is one of those requests. It's on family history and past lives in the birth chart. So what I first of all want you to do is to get your birth chart. So you can pause this video if you want to pause it, get your birth chart, and find, what do I want you to find? Don't find anything, just look at it, okay? Ooh, I also want to plug my February 2021 astrology video and the Mercury transit video, which includes the Mercury retrograde. So Mercury is still currently retrograde in Aquarius, so check out that video if you're interested in the sort of hermetic tricks that are going on right now. So I guess we have to kind of define family a little bit and past lives. There are so many ways, I guess, that we could interpret family, and if you're a Hinster, you know that I tend to use this phrase, however family is construed for you, because I don't think that the birth chart is strictly necessarily even about people. It's just about everything. As Lauryn Hill said, everything is everything. And I am a big believer in past lives. Sorry if you're not, but I am. I also don't believe that that is restricted to the human form. I think it can be a whole multitude of things, you know. It can be, as I said, from another planet or dimension, but also not even like human or humanoid. It could be different animals that you were, other creatures that you were in past lives. It can also include, when we talk about family, when we talk about finding information about your family or information about past in the birth chart, this can also include your ancestry, your actual genetic human ancestry on Earth in this current lifetime. I'm going to tell you a little story. So I used to work at this restaurant, and I remember this day quite clearly because that particular shift, the moon was in Gemini. I was in a phase of checking the lunar transits like every day, and so when I was at work, I was really interested in how the general population of the restaurant, how the customers behaved, especially if it were a full moon. During that transit, I overheard a customer saying to like some other guests on their table, they were like talking about someone, and they were talking about like past lives, and it just occurred to me how like moon in Gemini the conversation was, because one of the people said, if it makes you feel better to think that you were an Egyptian princess, good for you. And I just thought, this is quite Gemini, first of all, but it also kind of got us thinking for this video today about like some of our ideas about past lives, and how sometimes whether we think that about ourselves or we've been told it by another astrologer or someone else, this belief that in our past lives come from a certain, I don't know, a royal court, or we were a king, or we were some sort of really esteemed warrior or whatever, when maybe that's not really the case. Maybe you were just like kind of someone pretty much on the same level as you are now in a past life, and actually you are just coming here, or you're just living this life now to sort of finish what you started, right? Or to deal with some unfinished business. So some astrologers look to the 4th house when thinking of the family. I've seen a lot of astrologers talk about parents when they look at the 4th house. So if you have whatever's going on in your house, learn about those individual things first, and then couple that with this interpretation that the 4th house is about parents, and see, and also if you're going through a 4th house transit right now, just look around you in your life, like what is actually happening, if anything, of significance, right, when it comes to your family, and you'll be able to know if that's actually like relevant to you or not, if the 4th house in terms of family rings true for you or not. I think definitely the 4th house is about rootedness. I call it the root house, but that's still to me much more about you as an individual and less about the family. So I'm still kind of, the jury's still out for me in terms of whether or not the 4th house is really about family, but let me know what you think. Now, in terms of past lives or future lives, a lot of astrologers do use the nodes, so the north node for the future lives, where you're going, and the south node for the past lives, where you've been. And this is another like interesting one, like in terms of the more esoteric senses, I guess, and in terms of reincarnation. If you believe in that, if you want to explore that, you can think of what is your south node in sign-wise, what house is it in, and do you have any sort of senses of coming from somewhere that you can't quite explain. But there is also this question of, if we are not from a certain like culture or tradition that significantly dealt with reincarnation, these themes, it might be a better idea to ignore the nodes. I'm a spiritual astrologist, so try to connect with what is authentic to you and your lineage as well. And by the way, this is what I am working through myself as well in my own practice. I'm always adapting and changing and incorporating spirit into my practice. Use the nodes if you actually feel like it's something that is you. Now, in terms of family history within this lifetime that you are living, the moon is very often, and personally I confirm this with my own practice with my client, the moon is the mother, basically. Quite often the biological mother, maybe also maternal figures. But if you're trying to kind of decode the significance of your own mother or mothers, look to the chart, because it's probably going to be very accurate. Which sign is it in? That's going to give you a good indicator. Which house is it in? Typically, the moon in the 8th house and the moon in the 12th house does give the mother being away somehow. I've talked about this before on my channel, but the mother is away, could be lost, could have even passed away in some cases. Incarceration or imprisonment of the mother as well. That's a very typical, traditional, common knowledge translation of that particular placement. So look at where your moon is at, any planets it might be conjuncting, any aspects it might be making to others, and kind of do that decoding as well. And you'll probably be able to find out a lot, if you didn't already know, about your mother or mothers. And then for the father, I do not look at the sun when it comes to the father, just because it never translates for me in my practice. I find that Saturn is much better to use, so that's what I do. It's similar to the moon. Look at which sign it's in, which house it's in, and you're probably going to be able to learn, if you don't already know, a lot about your biological father and or father figures of significance in your life. With Saturn, because Saturn does retrograde unlike the moon, and I find this in my practice with Saturn retrograde placements in the native's chart, this can indicate not that the father is away necessarily, but that the father is somehow defunct, significantly defunct. The father is somewhat lacking, or the father is somewhat debilitated. This is a very common sort of thing that occurs. And again, look to see what Saturn might be conjuncting in your chart, what aspects it might be making. I kind of also want to bring the 11th house to this conversation of family, especially because the 11th house is the house of networks. It's the house of collectivities, the house of friendship, the house of wishes, but I tend to interpret it as wishes that you can achieve with collaboration. And a lot of modern astrologers do associate the 11th house with any kind of club, society, initiative that you might be a part of, and in many ways to us this is kind of family for many people. Finally, I want to talk briefly about the 12th house, because I think the 12th house, which in traditional astrology is associated with things like incarceration, house of your deepest spirit or your most unconscious spirit. It tends to be the house that is interpreted as where your ancestry is, or your inherited spirit, everywhere that you are coming from. It's as if the 12th house is pushing the ascendant, and therefore the first house, that's the house of you, you and your body and your spirit here right now. But the 12th house is kind of much more unseen, subversive, and it's pushing you forward. It's your spirit basically, but most often we are not in touch with it. Maybe only in dreams are we in touch with it. So you might like to do dream work to find out, sort of spiritually speaking, where it is that you come from as a spirit. And you may well, in your dreams or through different types of meditation or highness, you might find that you get in touch with your ancestors, doing things or putting yourself in certain meditative states where you are able to kind of leave your body or leave the mundane and connect with basically source. So that's kind of, I hope this was helpful. Let me know in the comments what you think, especially about sort of the nodes and your own moon and your own Saturn placements and the 11th house in your chart and your 12th house, absolutely your 12th house. And let me know how much you resonate in terms of your family and your sort of ideas about or beliefs in or non-beliefs in past lives. Alrighty, I'm going to wish you a great rest of the week and into the weekend, and I hope you continue to stay safe and well. If you'd like a reading with me, you can look in the description below for my details, and I'll see you very soon for the next video. Take care, bye bye.